What? How you all doing? So it's a bit of a two-handed job at the moment. Oh, a two-hander. Never thought I'd hear that from you, mate. I know. Especially with my murder hands. Oh, I've got to be careful. If you haven't noticed, it's a bit dark out, right? I'll probably actually get in trouble for it. I haven't been able to settle since doing yesterday's vlog. Well, I say yesterday's vlog, the vlog was due up later on today. With the arcade cab. Was the dog gone? And the colour tint thing. That was supposed to be a mega... Oh, I don't want this now. I'm sorry. That was supposed to be a mega short video. And then I just blabbed for a billion years. But, man, I've not got a light in my hand. Stop bombing my brain. I couldn't settle. I made an overly long video, which is usually what happens when I dumb stuff down. I thought, you know what, arcade cabinet, was I right when I said probably sink before someone else gets in? All right, mate, all right. So, hang on. Grumbly. Grumbly, grumbly, grumbly. Check it out. Excuse the flicker, that's just the old camera. But here you go. I figured I'd put on the most popular game I own. So it was sync. Now I've done bits of the hold. Horizontal and vertical have been tweaked a bit because depending on what you launch, you'd get a bit of roll. Doggle, get your bung out. Added on a bucket ton more games than what were on there before. However, it doesn't have a lot of the stuff on it that we'd actually want to play. So I've just gone through and just added a few things to favourites. So there's already some stuff on here, to be fair. Yeah, it's got all the attract screen stuff and all that as well. Berserk for Divine, Black Tiger, Apache, Danky Kang, Marble Madness, Mortal Kombat. Probably remove that. Pac-Mania. Bit of trivia. That was once upon a time going to be the first arcade cabinet I ever owned. It wasn't. It was on sale. I tell this story every fucking time. It was on sale at Claremont Pier in Lowestoft for £60. And I could have had it, but I didn't have a van. I didn't have access to a van. I was only a kid. But my parents wouldn't let me have access to a van to get this arcade cabinet, even though it was like really cheap. But like, oh. And so I just never got it. Yeah, Pac-Mania, Sailor Moon, original Pac-Man, Punch Out for Big Man, bit of R-Type, Raiden or Raiden, Robotron, set up for, not that you can really see very well, Twin Stick. Basically put a lot of games on here as well that have like fantastic soundtracks. Bit of Smash TV, set up for Twin Stick. Space Invaders from my mum. Bit of Street Fighter, Alpha 3. I don't have Third Strike on here, which has annoyed me. So I'll have to sort that out, and any of the SNK fighters I want to play. Hey? Did I just break it? Okay, it's a bit temperamental, but yeah, back to favourites. Yep, Punch Out. What was it? Space Invaders, Street Fighter, Alpha 3, Super Punch Out. Bit of Tempest again for Divine. It's missing a load of games I'd like to play, So any of the SNK stuff like Samurai Showdown, Metal Slug. There's no. What was the series of games with Third Strike and like JoJo's? They fall into a specific category of arcade boards, but they're not on here either. And if I do add them on, there won't be any of this on there for them, just so we can play them. I need to change the Turtles version to the 2-player version because we've only got 2 sticks. Oh, and hang on. So this is the Frankencade. This is the Ratcade, as we called it back in the day. Pink. I'll just cut that like quickly. I've got the original one that was on here somewhere. This is not. This was a gaffed up machine when we got it. There's the pen I was talking about yesterday. And look, they just put MAME on it. There you go. Because I only ever played it during the day and the light wasn't originally hooked up or anything. I just, you know. But we got this for a bargain. I think it was like, I don't know, like 30 quid less. I don't know. And then I just rigged it all up with a Raspberry Pi and that. Mate, well chuffed this is working again. So, I guess I'll see you all in the morning. I love a good puzzle, and when there's stuff on my mind, I just can't settle. Sorted it, but now I'm too excited. That chip, bitch! I found my happy place. This has been really, really cool. Like, everyone has got in on it. The boys have been playing games. The wife played Tetris. My mum played Space Invaders. It's been absolutely brilliant. Would be Mega Man 2, The Power Fighters. That's a huge nostalgia trip for me. I remember finding that one completely by accident because it has part of Mega Man X's, one of Mega Man X's main characters, Zero. His origin story, it starts in it, in that game, that arcade game. And it's a bit of a chuckle actually because Bing, my little brother, sent me a clip on Instagram ages ago. It's like, because Bing has been traveling the world. I think he was somewhere like Vietnam or whatever, and he found a little arcade and it had the Mega Man fighting games in it. And he just was like, mate, such a nostalgia trip. Do you remember when we used to play these? Like, yeah, I probably haven't played it since he and I used to play back in the day. Well, up until now, anyway. We beat Simpsons, the Simpson arcade game. Me and Noodle went through that. And I just, you know, it's been really, really fun. I'm really happy to have the machine up and running again. And it was just a sync issue, so that's not too bad. I mean, things can fall out of sync pretty easy. What works today may not work tomorrow, and you know, you'll always have to make kind of fine adjustments. Some games, your settings might work, other games you'll have to give them a little bit of a tweak, and as I say, over time, things just, they need to be adjusted again. If caps and that capacitors start to kind of wear out as well, you might have to do some little tweaks and stuff. So, you know, it's not that big of a deal. It's just really cool. Really cool. I should probably actually show people the adjustments. It's going to be hard because I don't have stuff here. I've just got the camera, so I'll have to handhold it as best I can. But I'll just basically point out where you can make adjustments on an arcade CRT for if you do have stuff like roll and all that kind of stuff. At least specifically on my monitor, but you know, just to show how it was just dirt easy. Dirt easy. Done it before, I was freaking out. There's something I'm a little less confident about at the moment, but this kind of stuff, simples. Don't panic. I've got Space Invaders on because it's quiet, although I probably shouldn't because it's got constants at the bottom, which can potentially cause burn. But not to worry. It's only going to be quick. Right, so what you want to do is you want to take off your panel. For me, that's just a lift-off job. That's just a friction fit. And then you want to remove the glass, at least on my machine, that's a dropout after you take the panel off. And then you want to take off the black bezel. Again, just a lift away dealio, at least on my cab. You can see I haven't bothered finishing it since we since we got it as a scrap project. I've got a few reasons as to why I haven't finished it, but we won't go into that. So it's literally simple. I'll take some of this stuff out and I'll show you where the controls are. Just want to throw out there, okay, if you are removing your glass, be careful. Because it is just kind of, in my case at least, loosely held in. Alright? Just, you know, that should be a given. It's glass, and plus I wouldn't even know where to get a replacement. Flip round. If anyone's curious why I keep putting on the Sailor Moon game, it's because it's quiet. We used to put on Street Fighter Third Strike, right? But that's pretty loud, and people are like, yeah, we can hear that like all day. The reason for it is because nothing stays on screen static for a particularly long period of time. Like, everything's just constantly changing, just round and round and round. So screen burn's less likely. Like, nothing is held in place, whereas like some of my SNK games and that, they'll have like, you know, insert coin in the bottom corner or whatever, just continuously, and I don't like that. Anyway, right, your adjustments are down there. Okay, what I'll do is if I pop the light down, I'll zoom in a bit, if I can, and you should see mine are labelled, okay, just a bunch of little pots down there, flathead screwdriver dealio, just kind of poke, twist, very small adjustments, that's all it takes, okay, very, very, very small adjustments. And you see the black one in the very middle, I believe it's H size, right, it's H size, yeah, that's the one that I said will burn you if you touch it. If you stick something metallic in there to twist and then you touch, you will get burnt. So just be careful on that one. But yeah, it was just literally a case of, for me, changing the H hold, V hold, and we were pretty much the good. Although I am a little concerned about something else, but I'll get to that in a minute. It's not been perfect, but it's serviceable, it's usable. Just want to point out as well, you see those two twisty bits there in the kind of like the window arch bit? That is your brightness and focus, I believe. So if you need to make any adjustments there, that's where you either do it. So just be careful. I haven't had to realistically fiddle with those. I think the switch on my monitor, you can't see it, to change it from 25 to 15 is right up at the front. From what I remember anyway. I've had a lot of fun working on this machine since we picked it up. Like in 2019, I think we might have got it. You know, it built my confidence a lot with CRTs. Like, so it was the first one that I popped the old cup on, and just, it's been a really fun little project. And then stupidly we stopped using it. But fingers crossed, it's back. Oh, I love this thing. I've missed you so much. So not everything's smooth sailing. No. It was great, really cool, but there's a problem. Now I know someone's going to go, dude, you are a hardcore doomer, you always look at the worst side of things, be positive. Let me explain to you why. I'll explain the problem and why I'm a bit of a doomer in this case at least specifically. So, the arcade cabinet's great. I love that thing. Okay, it's a very special feeling playing games on an arcade cabinet. I grew up in arcades. It's a pretty hardcore groove to me. Having my own, even though it's this cobbled together Franken cab, it's rad. So I managed to get the screen sync sorted. There was the wibbliness, and I fixed it just by adjusting the sync hold, vertical and horizontal sync, to get it to stay in place. Like, so I would split the image, you adjusted it, and it all came back together. The simplest way I can really think about it, okay? However, partway through playing the games, we played The Simpsons through, and that was really cool, and then we were playing Space Invaders, alright? And just out of nowhere, the screen went from white to yellow, but it did it just as I'd hit like a high score, just as I'd changed level, and we're like, why does the screen change colour? It must have been just because I changed levels. But then as we dropped back into the menus, the yellow stayed there, and occasionally it would flicker back to white. So there's a problem with the tube, with the CRT. And frankly, I don't know how to fix it. When stuff like this happens, in all of my experience with CRTs, and I've not had a huge number of them fail through my reasonable life with them, right? I've seen like, what, 2 or 3 completely go kaput, right? When a colour just decides to go poof, you're usually reaching end of life, and to me on that cab, that's devastating. I don't know how to fix it. I know how to potentially band-aid it, but I don't know how to fix it. I've been told it's a relatively simple fix if you need parts, if you can get parts, and if you're a somewhat confident DIYer, which in this specific case, I'm not. I'm really not. Why? And this is partly why the Doomer thing comes in, okay? CRTs are fucking old. And if it's just like a recap or a weak solder joint, I have no problem with that. But if there's some like specific CRT component that I need to get, that might prove to be a little difficult. I don't know. There is a shop in town that will repair CRTs. I don't know though if the guy who specifically repaired CRTs is still there though. But as I say, components aren't exactly everywhere. Over the last few years, you could drive down a motorway and just see that someone has thrown a CRT like out the back of their car. Because they're too big. No one wants CRTs anymore, realistically. They want flat screens and stuff like that. But I have an arcade cab with a CRT in it that I quite like. It's an experience. I'm the same with this CRT as I am with woodwork. What? Okay. Woodwork is destructive. You make a cut, if you get it wrong, you've stuffed it. In some cases, you can recover it, but generally speaking, you've stuffed it. If you cut something too short, it's too short, and you have to do a botch job to fix it, right? I don't like botch jobs. In electronics, as long as the magic smoke stays where it's supposed to be, I'm generally pretty happy with that. If you fluff up a solder joint, you just resolder it. You get your solder wick out, suck up the wick, wick it up, resolder it. Not a big deal. A cap goes, you just replace a cap. Resistors stuffed, you just put a new one in. LED fails, new one, right? But with a CRT, I can't just reach into a box and buy the piece that I want. You know what I mean? It's almost like the wood. If I stuff it up, I've actually stuffed it up. And as I say, that arcade cabinet for my family is a bit of an experience. You can see it in my kids. It's a luxury. What, that cobbled old thing? Yeah, well, first off, the cabinet itself was a gift. You know, my wife, she found it. And we got it, and then it was a project for me to rebuild. It was this horrible as Frankencab that didn't work, and I rebuilt it. I never did anything with it cosmetically, but I still got it to work. The idea that we could play these games anywhere, let's be honest, that cabinet outside is literally it's a little tiny computer with an interface connecting a screen and a control mechanism, right? So you could say, put your games on a Raspberry Pi, get an arcade stick, hook them up to your telly, same experience. In theory, yeah, sure. However, there is this kind of magic at standing at an arcade cabinet, for standing at an arcade cabinet, when you stand at an arcade cabinet. Because if you're just doing them on a computer on your sofa, you can do anything there. You know, like if you said, I'm going to play my Robotron on my PC, you do loads of stuff at your PC. That kind of magic isn't there. But when you go and stand at an arcade cabinet, the environment changes, the mind changes, it feels different. It is different. You know, it's a whole nother experience, a whole nother control mechanism, I did think about just putting everything on here. I've dumped the ROMs, the games, to put on another box to play on the TV, but I just don't think it would hold that same kick, because if you say to my kids, hey, yo, do you want to play XYZ game? They might be like, you know, But if you say, hey, yo, do you want to play some like 20-odd, 30, maybe 40-year-old fucking game on the arcade cabinet? Yeah. My youngest son, when I told him there was a problem, he was like, well, Dad, can we go outside and still play on the cabinet? I said, oh, God, I'll have a look at it first, man. But you know what, tomorrow, I'm just going to let them play on it until something goes and I'll look at it. So the groove is, like, as I say, it goes yellow. And generally what that means is that there isn't enough. An image in a CRT is made up of 3 colours, right? Red, green, blue. And there's, to describe how a CRT works, there's a gun. And it fires rays, right? You've got red, green and blue. And they will hit like a layer of stuff between the gun and the glass of the screen that you're staring at. And each ray from the gun will react to the stuff differently and display colour. If one of those colours isn't being picked up right, the colour changes. You can go into an arcade game and it will have a calibration screen. Like, get your red sorted, get your blue level sorted, get your green level sorted to make the image look right. Blue just seems to have fucked clean off. If it had faded, that's one thing, but it just goes, I'm there, bam, now whites are yellow, bam, now they're white again, bam, now they're yellow. I had it happening when I was recording earlier, playing SVC Chaos. I've got my SNK games and some of my fighting games on there. Fucking great. But that colour drop just... I could open up open up one of the game's calibration pages, screens, and bump up the blue. But that's only in theory a band-aid. I mean, I get it. Things fall out of sync. Like I said earlier, you know, you might have your sync set. A couple months' time, you might have to tweak your sync a bit. Things just happen and things fall out of sync. In theory, it could be that simple for the blue channel. I might just have to adjust the power of blue and pew, more blue will be fired at the screen and yellow will fuck off and become white again. But if it turns out it's not going to be just that simple, what happens when I run out of dial in more blue? As they say, it could be a simple parts fix, replacement. It could just be a
a weak solder joint. But my head just goes straight to the, it's gonna fucking die. And as I say, it is an experience for us. I really enjoy that cab. It's nothing special. You know, but I salvaged a bunch of parts and made that cab. And it's great fun. It's an experience. Playing, you know, I don't know, Pac-Mania on that arcade cabinet versus playing it on a Raspberry Pi on my TV, that's different. It feels different. You know, I'm not lounging around on my sofa and stuff, but it does feel different. I don't know if I don't know if, is that where I want to go? I don't know. Most kids are like, why is that TV so fat? Yes, because, well, why is that thing so fat? It's like, yeah, man, seriously, man, the arcade, because I have, like, different boards and stuff, right? An arcade board's, like, maybe yay, like, about yay thick, depending on what kind of board it is. Like, tall. Look like a motherboard or something. They're not huge, right? Maybe look at a PS5, about that size and flat. Right? Most of the arcade cabinet is ass of television set. Fat ass tube TV. The technology that people just don't, you know. Is it emitting enough of the energy required to produce blue? If it isn't, why? It could, like I said, it could just be something really simple, but I just go doomer on it and I just don't feel confident enough to fix it. So I'm going to let the family play it tomorrow, because it flickered again outside before I came back in, and then it went away. Almost like it had to warm up. So we're gonna fire up a game tomorrow. The family said they're gonna play hardcore on it, and we'll see. Cross your fingers. Because if anyone that knows me will know that I want an audio room in life, a library, and an arcade. You know, I'm pretty much covered. If you gave me any one of those, I'd be pretty happy. I'd love to have a few arcade machines. I'd just maybe a couple of pinball machines and just have that as a place to just go and chill the fuck out. Because it feels different than sitting here. Because I do everything else here. If I was confident enough in woodwork, I'd build more cabinets. Anyway, I'm running on. What, about 15 minutes? Hope you're well. I'll see you with a bit of luck in the next one.